Namaste and welcome to this edition of The Right Stand. The issue at hand is the Waqf properties. Time and again, these Waqf properties across the country have come under the scrutiny, but more importantly now, it is in Uttar Pradesh, where perhaps the largest share of these Waqf holdings now come under scrutiny on two aspects, ladies and gentlemen. One, how much of the land which is deemed as Waqf property is actually government land or other land which has been encroached upon and then appropriated? And secondly, how much of the land actually remains with the Waqf Board and it has been actually passed on, which claim to be with the Waqf Board has actually been passed on illegitimately under this entire land grab scheme to other entities for a fat sum of money which does not reflect on the records. Is the 1995 Waqf Act subject to scrutiny because of the clauses where a certain amount of power or empowerment that has been given to the Sunni Waqf Board in terms of managing the Waqf or the lands, etc., has been grossly misused? And it's a true case of power corrupting and absolute power corrupting absolutely. Yogi Adityanath has said, 1 month, let's get a quick check of these properties and all the land that has been grabbed will be taken back. Is this going to unearth a huge can of worms where there is perhaps a dangerous, devious nexus of profiteering? That's the big question. Does the land grab charge stick?
पिछली सरकारों में तो भ्रष्टाचार हुआ, वक्फ बोर्ड क्यों कराएंगे सर्वे? वो तो सरकारी संपत्तियों को अपनी बना रहे थे। तो इसलिए आपत्ति करने का मतलब यह है कि जो लोग परेशान हैं, जिनको पता है कि उनके नाम आ सकते हैं, उनके लोगों के नाम आ सकते हैं, वो लोग इस पर आपत्ति कर रहे हैं।
घड़ियाली आंसू बहाने वाले लोगों को मैं यह मानता हूं कि यह अपनी राजनीतिक जमीन खो चुके हैं। जब मुकदमा जनता की अदालत में जाता है वहां उनको धूल चाटना पड़ता है।
सर्वे आप सबका कराइए ना। मेरा बोलना है कि मदरसों का क्यों सर्वे, सबका सर्वे कराइए। सिर्फ वक्फ बोर्ड का क्यों, हिंदू एंडोमेंट मठ का सबके सर्वे कराइए। छोटा एनआरसी दोबारा है ये। आप वक्फ प्रॉपर्टी को एक एनिमी प्रॉपर्टी की तरह ट्रीट कर रहे हैं आप।
There are multiple aspects to it. First, let's understand the Act, the Waqf Act of 1995. What kind of sweeping powers it tried to give the Waqf Board members. So the Central Waqf Board and of course the State Waqf Board and local people responsible for enacting it. So property can be deemed Waqf if used for religious purpose for a long time. So that's one point, the kind of sweeping powers that were being given. So if somebody occupies a particular place and starts offering prayers and say, what is long time? Long time is not defined. So is 6 months long time? Is 4 weeks long time? Is 6 years long time? What is long time? Don't know. But if you occupy a particular property, start offering prayers there, you can after a certain period of time claim that property to be yours. Property can be deemed Waqf after suitable inquiry, section 40. Who will conduct this inquiry? That's another question. Board can take measures for recovery of lost property. Lost to whom? And on what basis? Yeah, lost to whom? That board can sanction transfer of immovable property via sale, gift, etc. So the board can decide, I will go and grab one property, after some time I'll sell it to another person, transfer of title will also happen, or say I'll give it to you on lease, and the board can decide. So where is the Revenue Act or the Revenue Department? What about the state? What kind of taxes are going to be paid? What kind of paperwork is going to be done? Plenty of questions there. Board has perpetual succession. So once with the Waqf, always with the Waqf. Now, does that make sense? Let's try and see the proportion. What's the kind of property or land that we are talking about? Pan-India, the estimation is anywhere between 6 lakh to 8 lakh acres of land. The total properties of Waqf are nearly 8.53 lakh properties. More than 8.53 lakh properties of the Waqf, ladies and gentlemen. 6 lakh to 8 lakh acres of land across the country. which is anywhere near 1.5 lakh crore rupees. That's the actual worth of these properties. Let's look at some absolute numbers now, where total number of properties pan-India is 8.53 lakhs. Why is this survey necessary in Uttar Pradesh? The UP Central Sunni Waqf Board, has 2.1 lakh of these 8.53 lakh properties, perhaps the highest. West Bengal Board of Waqfs has 80,480 properties. Punjab Waqf Board has 72,024 properties. Tamil Nadu Waqf has 65,945 properties, and the Karnataka Waqf, that is Board of Waqf, has 61,206 properties. So these are the top 5 states, and I remember Mr. Anwar Manapadi of the BJP has time and again even knocked the doors of the court for the gross misappropriation of the Waqf boards and the Waqf properties in Karnataka. Huge amount of corruption there. But we are not talking Karnataka, we are talking the state that tops the list with 2.1 lakh of these 8.53 lakh properties, that is Uttar Pradesh. And the acreage, land, is also perhaps the largest out of the total 6 to 8 lakh acres. It's a huge amount, but over the last 5 years, it's been huge. 2017, the number was somewhere around 6 lakh acres, if I remember correctly. We are in 2022, so that land grab has only gone up, it's not gone down. But does this land grab charge actually stick? That's the question that we ask. Let's go straight across to our guest this evening. Waqf survey is the question, is the hashtag. Tweet about it, coup about it. Dr. Kaushal K. Mishra, spokesperson of the BJP with us. Tausif Ahmed Khan, advocate and political analyst with us. Desh Ratan Nigam, lawyer and political analyst with us. Amina Begum Ansari, policy analyst, also with us. Namaste. Thank you very much for joining us here on this edition of The Right Stand. Let me first ask Kaushal Kishore ji. क्या कर रहे हैं कौशल जी? यूपी सरकार, योगी जी की सरकार, आप क्यों मुसलमानों के पीछे पड़े हैं? वक्फ की प्रॉपर्टी दिखी आपको सर्वे करने के लिए, यही आरोप है आप पर. दैट्स द एलिगेशन अगेंस्ट यू.
देखिए, आरोप तो लगते रहते हैं, लेकिन भारतीय जनता पार्टी की सरकार सबका साथ, सबका विकास, सबका प्रयास और सबके विश्वास के कॉन्सेप्ट पे चलती है और हर जगह इक्विलिटेरियल डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन करती है सारे संसाधनों का. आप देखिए जिस तरीके से डिफरेंट रिपोर्ट्स हैं जो ये कहती हैं कि देश में मुसलमानों की हालत बहुत खराब है, और दूसरी तरफ देखिए जिस तरीके से वक्फ की प्रॉपर्टी है जिसमें करीब करीब जो इन्फॉर्मेशन है लगभग 70% ऑफ प्रॉपर्टी जो है उस पर अवैध कब्जे की है. अगर इस तरह की प्रॉपर्टी है तो उस पर इन्वेस्टिगेशन करना, किसी भी चीज की जांच करके सच्चाई को सामने लाना, और वो भी इस आशय से कि उसी सेक्शन ऑफ सोसाइटी के जो लोग गरीब हैं, जो लोग मोस्ट नीडी हैं, उनको अगर डिस्ट्रीब्यूट करना, मुझे लगता है कि इससे ज्यादा न्याय उचित कुछ हो ही नहीं सकता. तो हमारा मानना है कि सब के लिए हमारी सरकार काम कर रही है, उसमें जाति और धर्म का कहीं कोई रोल नहीं है. लेकिन कुछ लोग हैं जिनको हर चीज जाति और धर्म के चश्मे से ही नजर आती है, क्योंकि वो तुष्टीकरण की राजनीति करते चले आए हैं. तो मुझे उनके बारे में नहीं करना. हमारा मेन काम है प्रदेश की जनता के एक एक नागरिक का उत्थान करना, चाहे वो हिंदू हो, चाहे मुसलमान हो, चाहे सिख हो या ईसाई हो. हम इसको धार्मिक चश्मे से नहीं देखते.
ओवैसी साहब कह रहे हैं कि यार ये तो मिनी एनआरसी के बराबर है. वक्फ की प्रॉपर्टी को आप दुश्मन की तरह निगाहों से देख रहे हैं, एनिमी की तरफ से देख रहे हैं. क्या आपको वहां ग्राउंड से कंप्लेंट्स आए हैं कि वक्फ का ये चल रहा है लैंड ग्रैब, जमीन अधिग्रहण का?
अरे आप ये देखिए, अभी आपने देखा जिस तरीके से माफिया के जौहर यूनिवर्सिटी को तोड़ा गया और उसमें कहा मदरसे की प्रॉपर्टी निकल रही, मदरसे की बुक्स निकल रही हैं, मदरसे के फर्नीचर आइडेंटिफाई किए जा रहे हैं. तो क्या है? वो इसी तरह का कब्जा ही तो है. तो अगर कोई इलीगल चीज हो रही है उसको इन्वेस्टिगेट करने में मुझे नहीं लगता कि किसी को कोई समस्या होनी चाहिए. और जहां तक रही असदुद्दीन ओवैसी जी की बात करना, उन्हें तो हर जगह एनआरसी ही नजर आ रहा है. चाहे मदरसों का आइडेंटिफिकेशन हो, चाहे मदरसों का अपलिफ्टमेंट हो, चाहे मुस्लिमों की जनरल कंडीशन को अपलिफ्ट करना हो, हर जगह उनको एनआरसी ही नजर आता है. क्योंकि उनकी पार्टी तो कॉन्सेप्ट ही उनका केवल मुस्लिम बेस्ड है. वो कभी भी किसी दूसरे की बात नहीं करते. जो समझिए कि ट्रिपल तलाक में यही लोग अपोजिशन कर रहे थे, हलाला में यही लोग अपोजिशन करते हैं. आज ईरान जो सबसे बड़ा देश है, सबसे डेवलप्ड देश है मुस्लिम का, वहां हिजाब पे के ऊपर क्या हो रहा सबको पता है, उसका समर्थन करें. तो ये लोग हर उस इशू पे जहां पर भारत के हर नागरिक का इंटीग्रेशन हो रहा है उसका विरोध करते हैं, चाहे वो हिंदू है मुसलमान
यहाँ इंटीग्रेशन सरकारी जमीन का वक्फ प्रॉपर्टी के नाम पर इस तरीके का अप्रोप्रिएशन है। दूसरी बात यह है जो वक्फ की प्रॉपर्टी है वो किसी को भी किसी दाम पे भी कहीं पर भी बेच दी जाती है, किसी भी जगह को घेर कर कह दिया जाता है वक्फ है और इसको बेच दिया जाता है। Tausif Ahmed Khan, where do you stand? In Bengal also there are nearly 60,000 plus properties, 65,000 if I remember carefully.
No, it is very shocking, I've just heard, we must refrain from making a loose statement like you just said, कहीं पे भी किसी भी प्रॉपर्टी को घेर के बेच दिया जाता है, वक्फ क्लेम कर दिया जाता है. It is not like that. In practical life, we have seen matters where there are genuine waqf land and then encroachers have encroached upon those properties and then which causes litigation. Because you see, once a waqf land is declared as waqf land, it cannot be sold. It can be given on lease. And when any buyer wants to purchase a property, they have to go into the history of the property. They have to see whether there is a clear right title and interest of the seller in that property. And when we are talking about waqf law, we also have to talk about Hindu religious charitable endowment law. We also have to talk about charitable and religious trust law. So all of this is, there are dozens of acts which all comes under the land laws. And out of those land laws, if you pick waqf law and if you criticize what is your criticism is even not clear.
Sir, I'll tell you what. Tausif, here is the difference. As far as the Hindu
one criticism, you said 6 months. Just 10 seconds. You raised one criticism. You said that the act says, what is the long time? Long time mean 6 minutes or 6 months? Only an idiot would say this argument that long time in relation to possession of land and use of land could mean 6 months. It can never mean 6 months.
So what will it mean? What is long? What is long?
There are judgments. There are judgments, High Court judgment, Supreme Court judgment.
What is
which
long?
Establishes what is long.
What is long?
And long. I've just said.
I'm asking you in the Waqf Act, why is long not defined clearly in the Waqf Act?
Yes,
it's subject to interpretation.
I will answer that.
Is it not subject to interpretation by the person whoever decides what is long and what is not?
I'll say all acts, whether it is Waqf Act, whether it is Transfer of Property Act, whether it is Trust Act, every act passed by Parliament, they are all skeleton. An act is never exhaustive. An act can never be exhaustive unless there are special laws for which we can, for example.
No, but the word long is arbitrary in terms of how you would understand.
No.
The word long. No, Tausif, please understand.
It may sound arbitrary to you, but not arbitrary to court. Not arbitrary
the point
to litigants.
is who will interpret the word long?
Tausif,
you don't understand. What I am trying to tell you is who interprets the word long on ground. How do you interpret the word long on ground? If somebody a public park comes into place and somebody suddenly people stand there and start offering prayers on 1 day in a week. Then they start offering 2 days in a week, 4 days in a week, 8 days in a week, 10 days in a week. After about 6 months, they turn around and say, this place belongs to us because we've been offering prayers regularly. Then what happens there? What happened? Who defines the word long? That's the question that I'm asking. Isn't it arbitrary?
Yes,
Secondly, in fact, as the HRNC Endowment Act, the government can take upon Hindu temples' land. The government can encroach upon Hindu temples' land. Here in the Waqf Act, the Waqf is actually, the allegation is it's encroaching and grabbing land which does not belong to it. That's the allegation. Kaushal Kishore response, and then I'll go to Deshratan Nigam.
I would answer this. Please, give me 30 seconds. Give me 30 seconds, I would answer this.
Yes, Tausif.
So 2 points. One, what is Waqf body with regard to government body? Waqf body is appointed by government only. Secondly, you're questioning about long. You see, everything cannot be contained in the act. There are judgments which are interpretation of those acts and which is law, a binding law. If a Supreme Court judgment is binding on High Court and High Court judgment binding on the lower court. So law is, you can never
So
expect
you please
law
tell
to
me,
be only,
Tausif,
only
you're a
in
lawyer.
act.
Tausif, you're a
It is-
lawyer.
The law is there
Tausif,
in
you are
the
a
judgments.
lawyer. Tausif, you are a lawyer. I am going to
Tausif.
request you. You said
Tausif ji.
multiple judgments. Please tell me one judgment which gives a standard term for defining the period long. Please tell
No,
me one of the
no.
judgments. I'll give you 5 minutes to research. Let Kaushalji
I will,
respond.
of
Course.
course. I will-
One minute. Let Kaushalji respond.
I will,
Let Kaushal, you
मैं-
sir, I allowed you the intervention. Let Kaushalji respond.
तौसीफ जी, तौसीफ जी, तौसीफ जी प्लीज, तौसीफ जी, आपने टाइमलाइन की बात की ना, तो
अरे भाई, why are you interrupting? Just
तौसीफ जी, हो गया ना?
The anchor has asked me a question. Please.
So I told you, Tausif,
you are
that I will
speak-
give you.
Yes.
I'll give me 5 minutes. Let me bring the other panelists, and then I'll come back to you to define long as per the court judgments. If there is a uniform judgment of the time period long, what is the minimum time period before something is considered long or not considered long? One
Yes,
minute.
you
But let
asked me
Kaushalji
to
let
cite
Kaushalji
judgment.
respond. I'll come back to you. Let Kaushalji respond. Yeah.
तौसीफ जी, ये वही वक्फ एक्ट है जिसमें तमिलनाडु में 1500 साल पुराना टेम्पल, जबकि इस्लाम आया भी नहीं था, उस टेम्पल को वक्फ की प्रॉपर्टी घोषित कर दिया गया। ये तो आपकी
कौन
टाइमलाइन
बोला
की बात
1500? आप
है।
देखिए,
ताजमहल को वक्फ की प्रॉपर्टी घोषित, अरे भाई, आप क्या बात कर रहे हैं? सामने है आपके फैक्ट, तमिलनाडु में देखिए जा करके,
आपने बोल दिया 1500
वहां पे
साल
1500 साल
पे
पुराना
क्या?
गांव है। अरे साहब,
1000 साल होगा।
मतलब
नहीं 1000
अरे
साल होगा
सरकार
तो फिर
की
ठीक है,
रिपोर्ट
मैं
है,
क्लेम
वहाँ
कर
की
सकता
finding है।
हूँ। 1000 साल होगा, 1000 साल पुरानी प्रॉपर्टी है, मैं क्लेम कर सकता हूँ। वाह, यू आर सेइंग कि 1000 साल पुरानी प्रॉपर्टी होगी तो मैं क्लेम कर सकता हूँ।
एक मिनट, तौसीफ
नहीं,
जी,
कौशल जी, हाँ, बोलिए।
ये वही वक्फ एक्ट है, तौसीफ जी, वही वक्फ एक्ट है जो ताजमहल पे कब्जा करने की बात करता है। ये वही वक्फ एक्ट आया था जिसको ज्ञानवापी पे और हर जगह कोर्ट से इनको डिसमिस किया गया। तो ये वक्फ एक्ट का मिसयूज कर रहे हैं, और मिसयूज करके जो प्रॉपर्टी, अरे भाई बीच में फिर अभी देखिए तौसीफ, आपको
Now, don't heckle him, no?
जब मैं फैक्ट
He
दे रहा
didn't talk
हूं,
in
आप मुझे
between. He
कानून
waited
बता
for
रहे
you
हैं,
to
मैं आपको
complete. Let him
फैक्ट बता
complete,
रहा हूं।
Tausif, please. Yeah. जी कौशल जी, बोलिए।
आप मुझे कानून बता रहे हो, मैं आपको फैक्ट बता रहा हूं। फैक्ट यह है कि तमिलनाडु में पूरे गांव को वक्फ की प्रॉपर्टी घोषित किया, जहां 1500 साल पुराना मंदिर है। हाउ इट इज पॉसिबल? ताजमहल को वक्फ की प्रॉपर्टी घोषित करने की कोशिश की, जिसको सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने डिसमिस किया। आपने जाके ज्ञानवापी मंदिर के अंदर वक्फ की प्रॉपर्टी घोषित करने की कोशिश की, उसको डिसमिस किया। इसका मतलब यह है कि इस लॉ में कुछ कमियां हैं, और जुडिशियल इंक्वायरी होने में मुझे नहीं लगता कोई समस्या होनी चाहिए। आप तो लॉयर हैं, आपको समझना चाहिए, जुडिशियल इंक्वायरी तो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन राइट है सरकार का अपना और किसी का भी, और मुझे नहीं लगता ऐसी कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल इंक्वायरी या इन्वेस्टिगेशन में किसी को कोई समस्या होनी नहीं चाहिए, अनटिल अनलेस कि आप तुष्टीकरण और वोट बैंक की राजनीति नहीं कर रहे हैं।
देश रत्न निगम।
Let me respond. Let me tell you, Waqf is not mentioned in Quran, and therefore there are huge number of Islamic countries who do not recognize Waqf, and there is no Waqf in those countries. And let me name some of those countries: Turkey, Libya, Sudan, Egypt, Jordan, where the descendants of Prophet Muhammad are ruling that country. Tunisia and Iraq, there are no Waqfs. Because they say it is not mentioned in Quran, it is mentioned in some hadith, and hadith came after a number of 100 or 200-300 years, and therefore they do not recognize Waqf. Now, secondly, there was a judgment by a Privy Council, since there was no Supreme Court at that point of time, and it was where these 4 judges of the Privy Council, and these are binding judgments on the country, and we cite these judgments in Supreme Court, judgments of Privy Council, where they described Waqf as a perpetuity of the worst and the most pernicious kind, and declared Waqf to be invalid. However, because the Britishers in India refused to, accept this decision, and tried and passed a law to appease Muslims, which was known as Musalman Waqf Validating Act of 1913. And however, when India became independent, all these properties vested in the government of India by law. There was no Waqf, but subsequently appeasement started. 1954 Act was passed, and then 1995 Act was passed, and there are various state acts. Now, this question that has risen in UP is only limited to survey. And UP's Act, Waqf Act of 1960, provides for survey under Section 6 of the UP Waqf Act, and therefore that cannot be questioned. All properties have to be surveyed, how they came, what is the revenue, what is being done, And let me tell you, I'll give you instances, some shocking instances. The Surat Municipal Corporation building was claimed by the Waqf Board in Gujarat. Without anything, they said it is a Waqf, this thing. And since the documents were not updated after independence, they took it over. They also claimed 2 islands in the holy city of Bet Dwarka. The High Court of Gujarat got very miffed about it. They said, no, it is ours. Surreptitiously and quietly, a list is published without the owners of the property even knowing it. And since there is a limitation period of 1 year, and beyond that, you cannot even challenge that decision. So quietly, things are done. And by the time in Tamil Nadu, as was pointed out by Kaushalji, after so many years, suddenly that issue came up. The owners did not even know, and the Waqf has claimed that property where the temple of more than 1500 years is also existing. So huge amount of land grabbing is taking place, government land. And let me also tell you, Waqf is not applicable to non-Muslims and strangers, and Waqf cannot be implemented in non-Islamic countries. It can only be implemented where Sharia law is there and the country is governed by Sharia law. Our country is governed by constitution. So everything illegal has been done by previous Congress governments, and surreptitiously, quietly, the Waqf Act of 1995 was passed in Parliament without even giving a mandatory period of 7 days, and quietly was passed. That issue is pending in Supreme Court. So a lot of illegalities is there, and but let me tell you, when the question comes of constitutionality, the serious issues are there to maintain its constitutionality.
So you are saying Waqf does not apply to a nation that does not follow the Sharia. So it's not, if it's not an Islamic state, then it is not, there is no Waqf applicable, but there is an act passed by Parliament in our country which is a Waqf Act. And it allows Waqf, and more than 6 lakh acres of land, more than 6, 2017 the estimate was 6 lakh acres, more than 6 lakh acres of land is currently under this Waqf. The other thing, Amina ji, I wanted to understand, is this Waqf a pan-Muslim thing, or is it sectarian? Is it Sunni Waqf, is it applicable only to Sunnis, or is it applicable to Shias, or is it to try and ensure that there is no fight between Shias and Sunnis, that they both have separate Waqf boards? Please educate me, I am not aware. Amina ji.
Hello?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
So there is a Sunni Waqf Board and there is also Shia Waqf Board. If you read the case of Taj Mahal, when Sunni Waqf would claim it to be the property of the Waqf Board, then Shia Waqf Board came ahead and came forward and they said, since Mumtaz Mahal is a Shia, it cannot be a Sunni Waqf Board property. So we have both sect of Waqf Board property. But I want to say one thing everybody should know and understand, that these Waqf Board property trust is a basically elite Muslims' interest, nothing else. You see, there is so much poverty among the ordinary Muslim. If an ordinary Muslim can access to any profit from this Waqf Board, you could have seen some kind of difference in their life, but it is not. Basically, you will see all the English-speaking Muslim will defend Waqf Board because their interest, the elite Muslim interest, is very much into having a Waqf Board, and it's a authority. It's a
I think we've just lost her. We have a poor connection with her. So she said that this is also a mark of elitism which is happening within the, in terms of who gets access to Waqf and who controls the Waqf and who then moderates and runs the properties under the Waqf. Deshratan Nigamji, you wanted to add something, please. I'm just going to try and see if we can get Amina on a parallel phone line also along with her internet. Yes, Deshratan ji.
See, the draconian nature of this particular act is also clear, that there is a tribunal created under this act, and the orders of the tribunal cannot be challenged in what is non-appealable. This is arbitrary. This is something which is unconstitutional. And secondly, its status has been given above civil court. Civil court has been denied jurisdiction out here. So it is something which has been created out of the blue, above our judicial system, and where None of the parties come to even know that these properties have been declared as Waqf property. And with the shock and awe and surprise, as happened in Tamil Nadu or in Dwarka or in Surat or in many other places, suddenly people come to know when they start claiming and evicting people that it is their property. Let me tell you, if in an apartment there is a Muslim staying and it is his property and he is a Waqif and dedicates his property to the Waqf, the Waqf has a right and the Muslims have a right to start performing namaz in that society without concurrence or permission of the members of the other society members in an apartment. This is the seriousness of which is there, and that is why you see suddenly a person who buys an apartment in a society, then all namaz starts after some time, citing the Waqf Act that this has become a Waqf property. It is a land grabbing mechanism garbed under Sharia law. And this is what is happening, and innocent citizens are taken for a ride. Tomorrow, mine and your property can also be declared as a Waqf property because they have said so. They have published some kind of a list. So this arbitrariness, unconstitutionality has to end. That the Supreme Court will decide. But the UP government has clear powers of survey and to decide illegality and to see whether government land has been encroached or not, or non-Muslim lands have been encroached or not, or taken over, possession has...
Let Tausif respond. Yes, Tausif.
You see, Desh Ratan Nigam ji lives in his own world, a world which is full of, hatred against Muslims. Because in his own mind, he lives in a Hindu Rashtra where Waqf law does not apply. An act passed by the parliament and a law which has been there from ages does not apply. In his mind, he says, let's abolish this Waqf land and let's just take away this, let's grab these land. No, that's not how it works. You see, the whole, this concept of Waqf law is basically a trust law. In Muslims, before 1947, some of the Muslims held huge lands. And in order to do a equitable distribution, government brought Land Ceiling Act, government brought abolition of Zamindari Act, and it affected so many, not only Muslims, other non-Muslims as well, where lands were taken from them and distributed with people who did not have the land. But this Waqf Act, just like other trust law, like Hindu religious charitable endowment law and other laws, were carved out of those applications. For what purpose? Because these are charitable, for charitable purpose. This law, but when people have lots of wealth, they would want that I would keep this wealth aside for the coming times to benefit the people who are needy. What do these land or these wealth of people which belonged to people from generations before us? Their intention was that I will dedicate this land to help the needy in the coming days. And this is the question. Right now, who is the custodian? Waqf board is the custodian who appoints the officers. Government appoints, and there is no denial that there is corruption in the dealings of the Waqf land. When the benefit of the benefit deriving from these lands should actually go to the poor and the needy, and instead it is going to people who are corrupt, people of means, they are pocketing it. There are lots of instances of that. I do not disagree with that. But to say, let us abolish this law and let us grab all the law of the land, it speaks of your hatred against the Muslim community. You are speaking against the law of the land.
That's where I'm going to draw a pause on the argument, sir, because the entire Charitable and Religious Institutions Endowments Act was supposed to apply across religions, but it was applicable only to Hindus, and it's only Hindu religious institutions, that is temples, which come under government control. That's again the fact. That's a sad travesty in our country. The other part is, sir, Waqf Act, as per the rule, should apply in an Islamic state. India is not an Islamic state. So if it's an act of parliament which constitutionally should not apply here, and even as per the Muslim personal law should not apply, that's the counter argument. Wait. Let's not shout over each other. Desh Ratan Nigam wanted to counter. Amina Begum Ansari, we lost her, she's come back, so we'll get her also to speak. And Kaushal Kishore ji, I'm coming back to you. Desh Ratan ji, quick rebuttal, and then I'll go to Amina. Yeah.
See, let me tell you, in any act, Tausif, the question is to me. Please be quiet. Please be quiet, the question is to me. Now let me tell you, every act gives a time period. I have not come across, except this act, the word long. Let me tell you, either the time period is just shut up, please. I don't intervene. I never intervene when you were speaking.
Don't-
So let
please
me
be
make it
respectful.
very clear. Let me make it very, very clear.
respect to your
Either the
opinion.
time period is given
If you
in the
want-
Act. or
Tausif, you don't need to do this.
limitation.
You are a better debater and a panelist than that. Please, let's not heckle each other. He didn't heckle you. Please don't heckle him.
So,
Let's maintain some sanity and decorum. My request to all
Either the
panelists.
time-
Okay, Deshmukh
Anand-
Nigam, please make your point.
Then the time period is either given under the Act or under the limitation. Period is given under the Limitation Act. None of the time period is given in any of these acts so far as this act is, Waqf Act is concerned. Hence, it is an arbitrary exception. Secondly, when they trace the Waqf property, they go thousands of years back. They say it is about 1,000-year-old. Prior to 1,000-year-old, it was not Islamic property. How did it become Islamic property? Because some invaders came into India, grabbed our land forcibly, and declared to be a Muslim. Prior to that, it was never a Muslim land. So therefore, if you go 1,000 years, I'll go 5,000 years back.
मुस्लिम को मार के
Please
भगा दो
understand.
इंडिया से.
Please understand. If you go 1,000 years back, I can go 20,000 years back, 12,000 years back. So don't give
मुस्लिम
me
को मार के
that.
भगा दो, है ना?
So don't give me that fallacious argument of 1,000 years. Please understand that.
Okay. The point is a property that doesn't belong to you. You can't occupy it and then claim it to be yours. That is not you. You have to legally acquire it. You can't just grab it and say, no, I'm sitting in it, I'm squatting on it. So since I'm squatting on it for a long period of time, it belongs to me. That perhaps cannot be allowed. But Amina Begum Ansari, yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's a wrong.
Anand,
These land
the
are
Waqf
legally
Board.
acquired
Waqf-
land.
Tosi, it is not
Can I
legally
speak?
acquired, it's squatting, it's grabbing.
Yeah.
But
No,
we
no.
know the difference, you and me know the
Land are all
difference.
legally
There are two
acquired
aspects to
land. There are
this. There are
Can
two
I
aspects to
speak?
this. Please don't be heckler in chief here. Please don't do that, Tosi. You don't need to do it, please.
No, you are speaking lies.
No,
Come on, I have to
no,
counter
I'm not.
every lie.
I'm not
The
spreading
Waqf-
lies. I'm just saying that you cannot get onto a place, say that no, I am here, I'm being here for a long time, so it belongs to me.
But
It doesn't
these
belong to you
Waqf
just because you
land-
squat
no,
on a
these
land.
Waqf land
Just
are
because you
legally
forcibly
acquired
occupied
land.
it does not become yours. It does not become yours.
Right.
Yes, Amina Begum
Yeah.
Ansari. The
You
other
are
point
very
Tausif
right.
was saying
The
is that
Waqf
the
Code
Waqf
Act
intention was to
95
help the needy. But that's not
Yeah.
happening. It's just the
not happening.
elitists who are grabbing it and squatting on it. 6 lakh acres, how many Muslims has it helped? Yeah.
Right. Anand, the Waqf Board 95 Act has to be reformed. It clearly states that if Waqf declare any property of of Waqf property, even civil court cannot interfere in that. What kind of draconian law we have in the name of the Waqf Board? And imagine what kind of harassment we subject an ordinary citizen will be subjected because of this law. So I want to make a point that Waqf Board law has to be reformed. Also, this is all about the elite Muslim. An ordinary Muslim does not get anything out of it. An ordinary Muslim, a Pashmanda Muslim, the Muslim like from my community, dream for a single home, and they work hard for it their entire life, but they can't even have a home for themselves. What this Waqf Property Board are doing, if they are doing something good for the Muslim, why Muslims are so poor then? They should ask question. And the corruption has been there. Even Mamta Banerjee in 1996 filed a complaint in the Supreme Court. They should go and check the history of it. Why there is so much corruption in the Waqf Board if it is about the pious and religious charity? You are not doing charity. You are using the Allah's name for your own benefit, and you should be ashamed of it.
So you're saying there is rampant corruption, which even Tausif agrees that there is corruption which needs to be countered. But his argument is at a different level, that you cannot make it a political tool to try and target one particular section of society. Kaushal
How
ji,
it is a target? How it is a target if state can interfere in a Hindu religious law, in Hindu religious, Hindus mandir and mosque.
the Endowment Act, HRNC.
Yes, why they cannot interfere? They are actually saying that you are other. The Muslim are not the subject of this Indian nation. They are basically saying giving a message to Muslim ki if state is doing anything about you or about your institution, you are getting targeted. It is the separatist mindset how they play. That's the same thing is
you can do anything with any other community, any other religious section of society, but don't do anything with us, because for us only our laws apply. So that othering is what you're saying should not be allowed. Also, the entire concept of Waqf, if it should not be, it's applicable only in a state where Sharia law is followed and the rule of Islam happens, then India is a democracy. Yes, certain levels personal law is allowed, but should the Waqf is it legally tenable? That matter is sub judice. So we'll stay clear of that. But Kaushal ji, we started with you, so we'll finish the debate with you. Ji, thank you for your patience. You heard all the arguments. Ab bataiye.
मैं तौसीफ जी की बात सुन रहा था, उन्होंने कहा था कि जब देश आजाद हुआ उसके बाद जो जिनके पास ज्यादा जमीनें थी उसको गरीबों में दिया गया। मैं तौसीफ जी से पूछना चाहूंगा कि वो एक वक्फ की बोर्ड का नाम बता दें जिसकी जमीन को लेकर के किसी गरीब को दिया गया था। नथिंग, इट हैज नॉट बीन डन येट। ठीक, दूसरी चीज, तौसीफ जी बार बार कह रहे हैं कि हिंदू रिलीजियस एंडोमेंट एक्ट है, फिर बीच में बोले। तौसीफ जी प्लीज यार, यू आर लर्नेड एडवोकेट आई थॉट, ओके प्लीज लिसन, आई हैव लिसन्ड यू सो लॉन्ग। Hindu Endowment Act, anybody, any Indian citizen can be the member of Hindu Endowment Act, okay? But in Waqf Board, nobody is Muslim. Even the investigating committee, which is known as tribunal, they all are Muslim. So this is draconian on the behalf of basic structure of constitution. If you go on basic structure, you cannot discriminate on Article 14. But this act is continuously discriminating between the two citizens. That is the main problem. And what our government is doing. Please listen to me. Please listen to me. Again, अरे भाई बीच में क्यों बोल रहे हो यार? तब से समझाने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं। आप मैडम के बीच में बोल रहे थे, आप देश रत्न जी के बीच में बोल रहे हैं। क्यों? क्योंकि आपके पास आर्ग्यूमेंट नहीं है। क्या मुसलमान हमारा भाई नहीं है क्या?
अभी कौशल जी, आप कौशल जी अब सिर्फ नीडलिंग और हैकलिंग चल रहा है क्योंकि अब आर्गुमेंट डिफीट हो रहा है। तो फिर तौसीफ जी ये तरीका अपना रहे हैं कि कोर्ट में कैसे डिसरप्शन करते हैं वैसे यहाँ पर भी डिसरप्शन करें डिबेट में। तो कौशल जी आप अपनी बात पूरी कीजिए, फिर उसके बाद में कोई डिबेट रैप करना है जी।
एक आखिरी बताता हूं। अभी ये देखिए कि मनमोहन सिंह गवर्नमेंट में मार्च 2014 में इसी एक्ट के थ्रू, इसी एक्ट में दिल्ली की 123 प्राइम प्रॉपर्टीज को वक्फ बोर्ड को दे दिया। वो केसेस जो कोर्ट में पेंडिंग थे उन सारे केसेस को वक्फ बोर्ड में दे दिया। अरे सुनो, फिर बीच में बोले, दिस इज नॉनसेंस यार।
नहीं देखिए, फिर मैं आपका तौसीफ देन मैं आपका ऑडियो म्यूट कर रहा हूं। आई विल हैव टू टेल द टेक टीम टू म्यूट योर ऑडियो व्हिच आई डोंट वांट टू डू। सो नो आई डोंट वांट टू डू इट बिकॉज़ आई हैव रिपीटेडली दिस इज अननेसेसरी हैकलिंग।
झूठ बोल रहा है।
No, unnecessary heckling. Let him make his point. He didn't interrupt you. Please don't do this.
You are a lawyer.
Kaushal ji, please complete and please mute Tausif. I don't have time.
मैं ये बोल रहा हूं कि दिल्ली सरकार ने मैं नोट कर, तौसीफ जी नोट करें, 5 मार्च 2014 को नोटिफिकेशन मनमोहन सिंह सरकार ने किया। ये वो दिन था जिस दिन चुनाव की आचार संहिता लगी थी। उसी सेम डे ये एक्ट को नोटिफाई किया कि दिल्ली की 123 प्राइम प्रॉपर्टी को वक्फ बोर्ड को दे दिया गया। क्यों? क्योंकि वोट बैंक की प्रॉब्लम है। समस्या क्या है कि तुष्टीकरण, और जो उत्तर प्रदेश में मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में योगी जी कर रहे हैं वो केवल इन्वेस्टिगेट कर रहे हैं करप्शन का। क्यों? क्योंकि आजम खान जैसे लोग जो आपके वक्फ बोर्ड के ठेकेदार बनते हैं, उनकी जौहर यूनिवर्सिटी में मदरसों की किताबें और मदरसों का फर्नीचर मिल रहा है। समस्या यह, हम करप्शन की जांच कर रहे हैं। हमारा कॉन्सेप्ट है सबका साथ, सबका विकास, सबका प्रयास और सबका विश्वास, और भारत देश को विश्व गुरु बनाना, ये हमारा कॉन्सेप्ट है। और देयर इज नो हिंदुस्तान।
तो अगर जो जमीनें वक्फ बोर्ड ने सरकार की ले रखी हैं उसको आप छुड़ाने की बात कर रहे हैं, तो जो जमीनें मंदिरों की सरकारों ने जब्त कर रखी हैं, हड़प रखी हैं, जो कंट्रोल कर रखा है, उसको भी छुड़ाने की बात कीजिए कौशल जी। मंदिरों को भी सरकार के साथ छुड़ाने की बात करें।
रखिएगा आप रिलीजियस एंडाउमेंट पे अगली बार प्रोग्राम रखिएगा, मुझे बुलाइएगा, मैं उसकी भी पूरी कहानी बताऊंगा। जिस तरह से तमिलनाडु में 1952 के रिलीजियस एंडाउमेंट एक्ट के बाद करीब 45 से 48 हजार मंदिरों को कब्जा किया गया और अब केवल 12,000 मंदिर बने। मुझे उसके बारे में भी जानकारी है, पर प्रोग्राम दूसरा होना
चाहिए। और उत्तर प्रदेश में क्या परिस्थिति है उसकी भी बात करेंगे। पर फिलहाल आज इस डिबेट को यहीं पर विराम देते हैं। धन्यवाद। थैंक यू वेरी वेरी मच टू ऑल आवर पैनलिस्ट्स। वी गोना टेक अ वेरी शॉर्ट ब्रेक। व्हेन वी कम बैक, लेडीज एंड जेंटलमैन, दिस is Hindu Messiah at play, and it is organized Hindu Messiah. And we tell you how and why. The details of what happened in Birmingham when we come back. Stay with us.